Hello and welcome back to PC Gamer Presents, the PC Gamer PAX East PC Gaming Streaming Experience, streamed live from PC. And now, thank you. I'm James Davenport with PC Gamer.
George Jimenez, PC Gamer also.
And we're with some folks from Torn Banner Studios. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell us what you do.
Sure, yeah, I'm Steve Piggott. I'm the president of Torn Banner Studios and the creative director on Chivalry 2.
And I'm Alex Hayter, the brand director at Torn Banner Studios.
Well, welcome, folks. This is a game about stabbing your friends. Yeah, and grotesquely.
Also dismembering. Let's not let's not diminish it. Okay.
Yeah. Chivalry 2, medieval combat multiplayer game, large scale. When did the first game come out?
The first game launched in 2012 and really sort of, I think, established the multiplayer FPS, first-person slasher genre.
Yeah, it kind of blew up after that, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of it is an established genre now, and you guys have been kind of quietly working on Chivalry 2 all the while, huh? Right on. And for people who don't know, like, you mentioned the genre name, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but like, what is Chivalry and what is, Chivalry 2? Because this is what you're representing now.
Sure. I think probably the easiest way to think of it is something like Battlefield, but instead of guns and grenades, you have swords and battle axes and longbows.
Okay.
And really on like a goal level, what we're trying to do is get players into their favorite medieval movie battle scenes. So you want you to be William Wallace in Braveheart. We want you to be Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards. That's our goal.
Right on. A fantasy we all share, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Chivalry 2, I think at a glance in what you're showing down here, is it the first time you're showing gameplay?
This is the first hands-on for the public
yes.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah, about a week ago, that gameplay came out.
Yep.
Looking fine. And what are you showing and what are you revealing at PAX here today? What are you letting people play?
So the map that we're showing at PAX is called Lionspire. Mm-hmm. So it's a team objective mode map. So that was really the most popular game mode in Chivalry 1. So it's those sequential objective-based maps where you're moving through and you're pushing a battering ram to take over a gate, and then you're moving on to the next objective, and you might be killing a king or something at the end of the map. So we're really doubling down on the team objective mode experience for Chivalry 2. So here at PAX, we have sort of a cut-down last one-third of a team objective map called Lionspire, as I said. And you'll be sieging a castle at the end of the map. So you'll be attacking a bridge and then getting to the castle phase, killing lots of people along the way, obviously, and then trying to destroy a set of trebuchets that are firing at the ships coming at the castle too.
And yeah, if you're, I don't know, if people don't know, like, it's not just swords and boards in Chivalry. There's siege weapons, all sorts of handheld weapons, bows, crossbows, horses. And horses can kick now, I hear?
Yep.
Is that a thing?
People front and back. Yeah.
All right. So this is like full-scale medieval warfare.
It's very much about, the medieval warfare aspect of it. That's sort of like, what would it be like to try and survive the chaos of a medieval battlefield with people dying and crawling around all around you, and basically you want people to feel like, how did I survive? How did I survive? How did I survive? And then, I got somebody's head off. Yeah.
But there is like the combat is extremely technical. It's not inaccessible from what I've seen.
Right.
But there's a lot of, like, I don't know how to describe it. How it's competitive patty cake.
Yeah, like there's a lot of parrying and countering. So it's all about like keeping your guard up and also I guess like conserving your stamina. So it's like you just can't hold up a shield.
Yeah.
You have to kind of be smart about it.
Right.
And that's always been my favorite part. Is like you can feign an attack and maybe lure someone into like a false sense of like, I got him. Like, no, I got you, and you stab him in the face. Like that's always been my favorite part of playing Chivalry. And you mentioned the objective modes, like those times where you get to be the king at the very end because you got the most kills. Is like super it's exhilarating, but also real stressful because everyone is coming to kill you specifically.
That's your reward.
On the flip side of that, we now have a map where you'll be starting as a peasant in the first spawn, and you're playing as Agatha.
Yeah.
So you get to experience the opposite of being a king, where you're just a little peasant farming in your field, and out of the forest come a whole host of masons just charging at you. Ready to kill your chickens, burn your houses down.
What's the command for shouting? It's like just everyone hitting C and just shouting and scaring the crap out of you.
Yeah.
That's rad. And speaking to these big modes, the scale of these modes has increased. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So how many players?
So the first game you could play with more people, but the maps are really designed for 24 players.
Right.
And this time around we've gone to 64. And so this is part of this has allowed us to create these like huge battlefields that look like authentic or believable places. So you get to have almost sort of that Lord of the Rings experience of sieging Helm's Deep. That's kind of what we're inspired by and what we're trying to give to players. And it's one of the ways we get the game out of the way and bring the experience up front, so people feel like they are in a place, and by the end of the map, they've gone on this crazy journey of doing what a medieval army would actually do in that place. As Alex was saying, killing peasants, throwing torches on places, bringing up battering rams, smashing them down. It's all sort of contextual in the world what you would do.
And I guess like that's an interesting like development challenge. I'm from the outside looking in. Just did blowing up the scale and like taking that on as like something you wanted to do in Chivalry 2. Did that present like? Did that recontextualize like everything you designed up until that point?
Definitely.
Force you to really make some like brand new decisions in design?
Yeah, and I think the medieval era has this like grandness to it, so that's why the scale just resonates so well. It's something that's just bigger than life, and just all these armies lines up and massive amounts of guys fighting in one area. So there's a ton of beauty in the chaos of war. We wanted to capture that, but in doing that, it gets very difficult to make it not overwhelming for an individual person, not to have sort of an awful experience because you just randomly get shot by something or whatever. So what we had to do is we looked at the combat system and added a whole bunch of more tools for players. So from the first game, one of the biggest changes is that in the second game, you have more than double the amount of combat options, which lets you deal with the chaos, the additional chaos that we've added.
Yeah, the game really does end up feeling like, what if you're in a bar fight? Like suddenly everyone in the bar started coming at you, but you happen to be a master swordsman with the skills to defend yourself, and how would that go? So a lot of improvisation comes into that too. So you can pick up any weapon off the ground, and not just weapons, but if you chop off someone's head, you could pick that up, and then
great.
you can scream with the head and
show
then
it to
throw
his friend.
show it to your friend.
Psychological
and then
play.
throw it at them.
That is disturbing. So how do you guys, what's your approach for the map design? Because when you play the original Chivalry, I know so like the good players figure out what are the good choke points at, or if you're someone who uses a spear, you tend to fight in a hallway because someone can't swing their battle axe around, so you only can do thrust attacks. Like how often do you guys take that into an effect where, when you're designing your map, you're like, this would be a good spot for clashing? Like, what's your approach when you're designing the maps? It's a lot of screaming.
Yeah, the game gets pretty loud. So much violence.
Yep, that's ahead.
There we go. So what we do with the map design is we have multiple stages, and that lets us play with pacing a lot because you have 64 people and you can spread them out or you can shrink them really thin. So what we're showing at PAX here is actually just a sort of bridge fight where there's a ton of chaos because everyone's all in one spot, which is a great experience for a short amount of time, and then it can get too much if it stays there for too long. So we constantly move people through choke points and really different movie scene scenarios. So you can get to experience all of it and then keep the variety going.
The beginning of this map, we're not showing it at PAX, it's not playable, but you'll be landing on a beach. It's kind of like a medieval D-Day style. Where you're assaulting the gates of an entire city with a battering ram. And that's like a much more wide open space. So you've got like archers on the walls, you've got guys on ballistas just shooting you, hitting 2 or 3 people at the same time. And then it'll move into more kind of narrow city street fighting. So as he was saying, sort of like the design really alters to give you a kind of a fresh experience through each part of the map.
Right, and as a player, I'm thinking, I don't know, like as a coordinated team, so to speak, as you move through the map, you might, a broadsword might have an advantage in this more open scenario, and then suddenly you might want to back off as you get those tighter spaces.
Chivalry, I think, has always been a game that exists on 2 levels. So on one level, you have the mass combat and the chaos. On another level, you have that like breaking off into a one-on-one or smaller scale engagement. So we're always trying to mix up what you're engaging with and how you have to deal with it.
Are character classes returning, or will people have the ability to kind of make their own custom build for different characters?
No, so we still have the 4 same classes as the first game, but we've added subclasses to that, which is like an additional layer that players can choose from.
Cool.
And I'm hearing a lot of squishy, clangy sounds. I think people who like these kinds of games are always wondering, like, are you at a point where your studio, Chivalry was success, and Chivalry 2 is are you commissioning weapons and just beating the shit out of each other to get those sounds now? Are you George said?
How many slabs of meat are you stabbing with sword just to get that right squish sound?
So we have a sound booth in the studio, and basically because we don't want the neighbors to call the cops on us. But yeah, we can't really talk about what goes on in there. We get the sounds out somehow, but and we do whack each other with swords, but that's mostly for animation reference.
Another major part of the audio and sound too is the voices, which is just like a cult sort of popular part of the first Chivalry, being able to chop off a friend's arm and say, "Sorry, Lord." So all those voices, the voices are returning. Oh, guy got hit with a shield, so you can throw any weapon you're holding.
That's improv you're talking about.
You can still fight without an arm here too. Yeah.
And a bunch of new voices are coming in too. So every class has got its own unique personality. There's also some of the lore behind. Every map has a story being told actually in the game. If you don't care about the lore, that's fine. But but we're kind of nerdy, so we like to have like that backdrop to everything you're doing. Context. So there's a context to it. So you're not just some nameless mercenary, army. You're part of either the Agatha Knights, who are kind of like the good guys.
Yeah.
And it's not black and white. And then the Mason Order, who are like the more brutal barbaric guys.
Right on.
Are we speaking of lore? Are we strictly just doing multiplayer, or is there going to be some sort of single player component, whether it be like a super long tutorial, or are you guys not ready to talk about that?
So it is just multiplayer, but we are trying to bring narrative context to multiplayer, and that's why that sort of like we want that world that fantasy novels or things like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings create. Yeah. We want that to be part of the experience because that is part of the fantasy that we're trying to deliver to people.
So it's going on in the background more or less.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And you are playing out those battles, and from the first game, all the battles in the first game have a sort of canon resolution, and they're brought into the second one.
Right on. Yeah. What I love particularly about this genre is like you're right up in people's faces, and in the first game you had some of that emotive play, yelling and such. How in this game, like now that it's graphically very impressive, like how much more are you adding to give the players to be expressive and silly, or communicate with other folks non-verbally necessarily?
Yeah, so there's the epic Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones feel to it, and there's also that Monty Python Holy Grail aspect to it, but role-playing. I mean, probably half the people that play the game, we said this before, but they're drunk and they're just like enjoying a Saturday night, just getting ridiculous with their friends. So we want to lean into that too. So we added a ton of more character voices, brand new ones. The old ones are in there as well. And how many more emotes? A ton of them.
There's a ton of new animated emotes. Yeah, you can do like, the cutthroat kind of thing. You can just wave at people.
Yeah. And you see the best players out there having a really fun time taunting people as they're destroying them with swords. So
yeah, that's kind of my play style. I'll never be the perfect reflex dude, but I'll be the one screaming and yelling.
No. Revives are a new feature too,
cool.
So you can be down, but then bleeding out, and then your friend might come and revive you. You also might lose an arm, and it'll be "'tis but a flesh wound" comes up on the screen. And you got a little bit of time before you die.
That's rad. That's rad. So yeah, what other big changes, big or small, are you that you think like kind of stand out to you as you're making this game between Civ 1 and Civ 2?
I think always the combat system is one of the first things people want to know about. There's a ton of stuff. You can just pick up weapons. You can pick up any weapon. You can throw any weapon. There's twice as many combat options as the first game.
Damn.
So there's things like little jabs that you can use that are much faster than normal attacks, and let you, even if you've been hit, you can sort of jab the guy before he can hit you again. But at short range, that's hard to do. There's special attacks. There's tackles. You can knock people down. You can roll out of the strike of the. If you're on the ground, you can roll out of the way of the follow-up blow.
Oh, nice.
So we're trying to make it so that you're never out of options, and there's a variety of stories and gameplay experiences for players. Really, anything that you've seen in a movie scene, we're trying to let you do in the medieval era.
That's awesome.
This is another map that we're not showing on the PAX floor. It's called Glade, and it's trying to get like that Braveheart sort of charge feeling, a big open field battle. Horses are a part of it too. So this is more of the team deathmatch style thing. We just jump in and play, slaughter a bunch of folks. This is Tournament Grounds, more of your like Knight's Tale inspired setting.
A bit more dually. There's a lot of This one, just love the background imagery there, transported. Cool. So. Have you guys talked about kind of release windows or betas, or kind of like Chivalry 2 is on the floor, people are playing it, it exists. What's sort of the pace from here? What's going on?
Yeah, so in March we're starting the alpha. That'll be a closed alpha. You can sign up on chivalry2.com for that. In summer, we'll be doing the beta. So the alpha will start off under NDA, and then the beta will be a big, kind of free-for-all, and then release later in 2020.
Oh, sweet. And I don't know, the genre as a whole, I'm kind of curious, like you said, you guys kind of kicked it off, like really kind of put it on a stage for everyone. And then it's since had so many iterations, and different developers have made, like Mordhau was made by fans of Chivalry, so there's like different players entering the arena. Like what do you think is the essence of like the genre, seeing that now that you've had 2012 is when Chivalry 2 came out?
Yep. 7.5 years.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What the hell? Since you time.
We've all aged a million years.
Like what are the big lessons you've learned along the way, and sort of like what do you see this genre, the real beating heart of it, as to you?
Well, I think that there's so much more potential that can be done with it. I mean, it's sort of 2 games old in some sense now, so there's so much more that can be done with it. And I think for us, this is a little bit of a revenge mission in the sense that we feel like we left some potential on the table in the first game, and we want to get back there and capture it, because the game, and we think this genre has the potential to be as big as many other ones that are out there, and it's been sort of a cult hit up until now. So our goal is to really try and take it to the next level and let a lot more people enjoy it, while keeping that master swordsman approach to it. The love of mastery is a core part of the fantasy of being the ultimate warrior.
Right.
So I think what it is about is allowing players to become a hero.
And I'm kind of wondering, like, what's your favorite? What are your favorite kind of loadout? What's like you a heavy weapons guy? You sword,
Myself, personally?
crossbow, you play distance. What's your kind of go-to get up?
Yeah, I'll mix it up a little bit, but it's all-out aggression, essentially.
You're the guy screaming and running across the battlefield.
Just fear in someone's eyes. There's something.
You're the guy with the battle axe who then throws said battle axe and then beats the man to death.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the fisticuffs loadout is my favorite mod. We just get in there and just start punching. That's all you need to do.
Well, I'm so curious about that peasant mode, honestly, because it sounds like it reminds me almost just from what you've said about it, like a gun game format, like where you maybe you're not like getting in the CS:GO gun game format. You maybe like dip down to weapons that are not as advanced. But this is this like an actual like linear? You're kind of moving up through the ranks in the term of a match.
So in that case, the peasants is more just like a fun kind of spawn to start the map. And it's in a team objective mode.
Gotcha.
So you're probably gonna die because you're a peasant, and it's just a way to put you into the context of the story of the map, and then you're back to normal spawn.
Gotcha. Makes
but
sense.
if you kill one that is a peasant, that's you're doing.
That's
fantastic.
when you go into the chat and really start bragging.
Yeah, and he knows it too. Yeah.
Well, and I guess like every kind of match of Chivalry 2 is almost like a gun game format, because you're just picking up weapons off the floor and making do with what you got as is. Right on. Cool. So we've got a trailer to get out on before we leave. We're running out of time here, but anything else we should know about this game? There's a lot going on in the combat specifically that maybe it's kind of hard to communicate because it's first-person swords, and the interplay between like blocking and feinting and all that stuff is, until you get it in your hands, kind of hard to really truly.
Yeah, I think on some level though, what we've done is trying to just give players more options, because when you give players tight controls and meaningful options, you give them creativity. Yeah. And that's what the whole game is about, really, is the ability to be creative and figure your way out of increasingly difficult scenarios on a battlefield. So.
Like an immersive sim, but everyone has swords and they're trying to kill you.
Yeah, if I just threw a bag of swords to people at PAX and we saw what happened, that's pretty much what we're talking about here.
Don't do that. That seems super illegal.
No, that's why we do it in here.
Right on. So just a reminder again. When's this release date? Well, we don't have a release date.
It's coming out later this year.
But it is 2020.
Yep, and there's a beta in the summer.
In the summer, Epic Games Store, and
awesome.
Chivalry 2. Wait, I do have one more question.
Yep.
Go. Is mods a thing?
We were looking to support mods, but we won't be able to do it at launch. But
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Fair enough.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. We're gonna, like James said, we're gonna end with a short cinematic trailer to give us a little bit more
men
flavor.
yelling.
Yeah, more men yelling and some flavor.
Sounds good.
So yeah, if you like men yelling and hitting each other with sharp objects, we've got a very special surprise for you. I was Joe Jimenez, this was James Davenport, and these were the fine folks at Torn Banner Studios. Thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll be right back.
Civil war left our land in a state of ruin. Amidst the dust of Stone's Hill, Phaedrid, steward king of Agatha, was slain. "20 years have passed. Malric and his Mason Order have ruled since with an iron fist. Murdering, pillaging, squeezing the land of its spoils. Now, with winter, comes the rumor of a new leader, King Argon II. As the lion roars, the noble houses rally, bringing forth the steel of the Agatha Knights. The grizzled old king welcomes the battles to come with the full might of the Mason Order. Once more, legends will be born. Bloodshed. Who will sit upon the throne?